So let me fix OKRs. Cognitive science suggests that goal setting leads to a higher performance. There's a lot of studies around that. We're not going to get into the details, but it's very important for success and result orientation to build towards a measurable, attainable, but challenging goal. So far, so good. Another interesting thing about goals is that you can, if you only have short-term goals, reach all of your goals, but not get anywhere if you don't have long-term goals. Right? So what can happen is if we're completely focused on the next thing, we're completely focused on the fire that is in front of us. And in scale-ups, we're constantly putting out fires, one fire after the next. We end up with short-term goal after short-term goal after short-term goal after short-term goal. And we may be great at achieving all of them, but we will, if we don't build towards a vision in the future, we will not develop compound interest. So we want to cascade from purpose all the way to team goals, right? So purpose, vision, strategy, long-term goals, short-term goals, and tactics. What is a purpose? A purpose is why are we here, right? What's our mission? If everything went belly up, what would we start doing tomorrow? Yeah? What is our mission, our raison d'être? Why are we here? Yeah? So far, so good. The timeline for our purpose is typically infinite. It's not unchangeable, but it's infinite, right? Then we have the vision, and vision is what a lot of organizations don't really nail. A vision, a good vision, in my opinion, is when you bring together the outside perspective and the inside perspective. Right? What does it mean? Where are we in 3 to 5 years in the market? And what is our role in it, and what have we achieved? That's a great vision. It takes into consideration the outside and the inside and forms a vision that you can have as a North Star building towards. Where are we in 3 to 5 years and what have we achieved? Right? If you have that, you can develop your strategy. And strategy is also misunderstood in many organizations. A strategy is not goal setting. Choosing the right goals is very strategic, yes, fully agreed. However, a strategy is how you reach your goals. It is which goals you choose, which goals you prioritize, and how you will get there. So when we have a vision 3 to 5 years, our strategy, how do we contribute to our vision in 3 to 5 years in the next 1 to 3 years? What is the USP that we will be developing? What are the value propositions that we are creating? What are the strategic bets in the markets that we are taking, technological bets that we are making, right? So here we are bold and think long-term. The strategy, how do we reach our vision? Sometimes I'm in an organization, I see they have a pretty good vision, but they haven't actually articulated how they want to get there. Maybe there's a couple of slides and some PowerPoint deck on what they think is the good strategy. But then when you talk to C-1 and C-2 levels, they struggle with saying, okay, so I know what I'm supposed to do, but we've never discussed how we want to do this. That's a good strategy. Then, based on this, we have a long-term goal. What are our priorities in the next 1 to 2 years? Long-term goals. If you have this, the short-term goals, or the OKRs, or whatever you want to call it, are much simpler. So we can always cascade, we can connect towards our long-term goal. This is what I said before, we want to develop compound interest towards something bigger. So we want the priorities in the next 3 to 6 months that are completely connected to our long-term goals. And then, of course, again, the how. Tactics is the little sister of strategy. So how do we reach our short-term goals in the next 3 months? Right. So if you do this work, you have a much better chance of having an effective goal setting and strategy architecture in your organization. It sounds simple. It sounds almost like, oh, let's do a design thinking workshop and do some Post-its and stuff like that. No, it's very analytical. It's more than a Post-it workshop. You have to put in the work to do your strategy, do your research, your strategic bets. You have to do evidence-based strategy development, and you have to let your teams understand those evidence-based strategy developments so that they can latch onto them when they craft their short-term goals. This is where OKR framework comes in. OKRs are a fantastic tool if used right. To connect goals and strategy is to translate strategy into execution, to make strategy measurable, to help you create transparent and aligned systems, to help your managers think strategically, to better prioritize, have a language to say, if I say yes to this, I say no to that. It's one of the biggest learnings any manager or any person can have, by the way. And helping your teams become actionable and autonomous, right? So, the thing is, it's not easy to implement OKRs. There's different adaptations of it. There's a famous book by John Doerr, Measure What Matters. There is the famous model by Google, which is maybe 90% congruent with whatever they say, Measure What Matters. Everybody does it in a little bit different way. We, as BIA and Hello Circle, also have our way to do it. It's customizable. So you have to put in some work because it's not a natural science. You have to actually customize it to your needs. So what does an OKR actually look like? The objective is a qualitative statement of something you have achieved in the future. Qualitative, not quantitative, right? So where do I want to go? That's my objective. In 3 months, or if it's a long-term goal, in 12 months, for example. Then you have the key results, which are the independent success factors that if you achieve all of them, you will likely achieve your objective, right? They're messy, not messy. Messy is mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, right? Messy, not messy. Remember this, because if you're doing an OKR set without thinking about messy, you're not doing it right, because you're not doing the critical thinking, right? It's essential. You can double check, you can quality check yourself. Have I thought about messy? If not, you haven't done the critical thinking part of OKRs. So what does it actually mean? We measure what matters. We think about what are the independent factors that will make me succeed in this objective, right? Let me give you one example. So typically when we have an OKR, we want to connect it to something bigger, a long-term objective. We are in the consulting firm environment, let's just say BIA, right? Okay. So the team that we want to cover this OKR for is the internal operations and staffing team. The midterm goal, the bigger thing that we want to feed into is we want to prepare our organization for growth, right? We want to prepare our organization for growth. Based on this long-term goal, we know that we're not ready for it because we have 2 varying staff utilizations, right? So some people in the staff are utilized 120, others 60, and it's varying all the time. And we don't have our shit together in that sense. That's the context of this OKR set, right? So let's write the objective, a concrete state in the future. We have implemented an effective and scalable staffing and people operations process to navigate our diverse academy and consulting project portfolio. Firstly, it sounds cool, and it's inspiring, and it's aspiring, and people will like working on this objective, right? People will instantly understand why we're doing this. People will instantly understand why this is important, not only for my team, but for the entire organization. That's a good goal. A goal is that everybody in the organization immediately knows, yes, I know why we're doing this. A good goal, whether it's in tech or in sales or anywhere else, yes, I know why we're doing this. That's a good goal. That's a good objective. Okay, so now let's think about this. Messy, not messy. What are the independent success factors to make this happen, right? Number 1, average staff utilization 80% across all projects for delivery team. That means some sort of process, some sort of algorithm that we have developed to consume customer requests and deploy staff. Some sort of algorithm to make that work. And 80% is good. That's an industry standard for firms, for consulting firms. So that's a key result. And if this happens, I'm moving closer towards this. But this I can also do manual. I can literally do this manually every day. I can sit there and do that. However, we said we want to scale and prepare for growth, which means if I just do that manually, it's not going to help me long term. So we have to make sure it works long term. It has to be digital so that it is scalable. So what we're saying is 90% of projects are fully managed in a company management tool so that the resource requests and deployments can be navigated in a digital way. So that happens in here. It's independent from each other because here I have to develop a tool and here I have to develop an algorithm. Both things have to be true for me to achieve this. But still, let's do more thinking about this. So, okay, let's say I have a great tool and a great algorithm, But it's people running the show, people doing it. And I know my people, and from my experience, if my people who are actually doing the operations staffing don't like the new tool, it's not going to work. It's going to work for 1 month, but at some point we will go back to our old routines. So people have to love it. Employee satisfaction score over 8 in regards to the new process. Mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. That's what OKRs are about. There is more you can do with your OKRs. So you can cascade. So one key result in a higher level of the organization can become an objective in a lower part of the organization, maybe in your team, maybe in another team. So you reformulate the key result that is measurable into a qualitative statement. And you can do cross-functional collab, which means you can align your two objectives between two different teams. That's the magic of OKRs. So, however, there's a lot of problems in the OKR setup, in the world of OKRs. It's oftentimes not working. People are not applying it the way God intended. So, 2 misconceptions about OKRs that I want to share with you. So, first of all, it's not a performance management tool. If you have OKRs on an individual level, which is generally okay, but I personally do not like it, OKRs on a personal level are missing the mark, in my opinion. It just confuses everybody. Because then it becomes too much a performance management tool. Management by objectives. Performance management should be much more holistic, much more free of the short-term results that we're trying to do. So be careful about performance management, because also there is sandbagging. So sandbagging means, okay, so with OKRs, we want to create aspirational goals. We want to motivate the organization. We want to get people aligned on something bigger we're trying to achieve. Whereas if I know that my bonus is connected to that, I'm not going to have aspirational goals. I'm going to have lower goals that I will achieve so I get my bonus. Be careful with OKRs that are connected to individual goals. Second, KPIs versus OKRs. A lot of organizations are putting these things together, but they're two very different things. Let me explain why OKRs are not a KPI tool. To understand OKRs, you have to be able to differentiate it from KPIs. Let's do a little bit of a more boring slide, but let me walk you through this. So KPIs is the tool for the context of operational execution. Right? OKRs is the tool for the context of strategic execution. I operate, I measure the progress with KPIs, daily business, or in the world of OKRs, business as usual. I have time-boxed strategic projects where I don't exactly know all the cause and effects and I have to experiment and think strategically. That's an OKR. It's so I want to change something. Now we have an action-oriented goal. Right? So the basis for KPIs is business as usual. The basis for OKRs is a temporary mission. And this is where it usually goes haywire because we have one goal set up and the OKR system or any goal system of your organization ends up being all three. It becomes the KPI tool, it becomes the strategy tool, and it becomes the performance management tool. And then it's diluted and it's nothing good of anything, right? So we have to learn to separate those things. And honestly, this is one of the biggest problems in most scale-ups. So let me give you an example. Maintain website uptime at 99%. You're already doing it. There is no action-oriented goal. It's just continue to do what you do. We have to measure the health of our business activity. So we have a KPI, and we may even have a target. Maybe even we are at 98%, and we say we want to arrive at 99. It's a minor improvement, and it's still a KPI, and it's fine. Penetrate B2B segment to unlock additional revenue streams for a specific for our core product. That's a completely new thing. It's a strategic project. It's a time box project, and their OKRs make sense. Interestingly, though, a BAU-based KPI can become a temporary OKR if there is something you want to significantly change. Let's just say your website uptime is actually at 90% only. So we say increase website uptime from currently 90% to industry standard 99%. Now we have an OKR because we want to substantially change something. And we don't exactly know how to do that yet. And this is where things go haywire because we're confusing all of these things at the same time. So another important thing, understand in your goal setting system, whether you use OKRs or not, doesn't matter. But one thing that 99% of managers struggle to answer is how much time do you spend on strategic work, and how much time do you spend on operational work? Nobody gets this right. Nobody. It's wild. So help your organization, help your managers diagnose their work and their responsibilities. Let them understand which one is operation, which one is strategy, which KPIs will measure the success of your operations, and which OKRs will feed into your OKR system. That's when you have a smart OKR system. So that's a typical organization. You have the founders or C-level and some sort of board, external board. They also call some shots. Then you have your C-1, call it the VP layer. Then you have the C-2, let's call it the director layer. And you have C-3, right? Manager layer, whatever. Let's simplify it. Now, to do goal setting right, now listen to this. Even at the first layer of the organization, between the founders on the C-level and the board, there is at best 95% clarity of what the hell is going on and what we're trying to do. At best. Even the founders are not 100%. Maybe some areas of the work, they're 100% aligned, but some others are 98, 97, 95, whatever, right? And even more so with the board. Then, 95% alignment health. Let's say we go into the VP layer, C-1. C-1 now has maybe 85, maybe 90% clarity on our vision, on our strategy, on our challenges, on why we're doing what. Huh? 85. Now let's go C-2, the director layer. Maybe you were at 75%, maybe at 75 to 85%. And let's go C-3. We are maybe at 65%, 70%. Now, that's the biggest layer you have, by the way. You have more C-3 managers than you probably have C-2 managers. These guys and girls are executing the strategies in your organization. They probably run at best at 70% clarity of your strategy. Not on the first 3 layers of your PowerPoint decks, and you had an offsite, you had a leadership offsite, and you had some sort of all hands, whatever. If any percentage, any point here has bottom line impact. And this is why OKRs have done well. They're helping you to build high performance through connected goals, through transparency, through alignment, to strategic thinking at all layers in the organization. If there's one thing that, in my opinion, you can do to improve bottom line results, if you want to start with something tomorrow, it's the goal system mechanism in your organization.